I know you have some things to watch, but one of the subscribers mentioned that you should start getting into anime. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Hello there. Big shout out to one of our top subscribers. That's going to be Nalo. Hey, stay out the shot. Yes, big shout out to Nalo, everyone. He is looking to get into some front end and back end web development and possibly become a full stack developer himself. All right, yes, it is going to take a lot of dedication, so make sure you are focused. Understand? Now, for some of the actual subscribers, if you can actually leave some comments down below, let's give Nalo a big section of pros and why he should actually become a developer or just actually start coding as well. All right. So he's relatively new to it. We do know that he has a Mac. So with that, he has the watch, he has the phone, he's got the actual laptop. So he's already set as far as equipment. Now we just need him to actually take a look at some of the actual comments below, or maybe even a personal email as to why he should start giving it a little bit of time. All right, without further ado, today we are talking about different types of functions. All right, that's going to be within JavaScript. If you are new to this particular channel, please go back and actually start from the beginning, because some of this stuff might look a little crazy. Today we're talking about functions, and this is part of the playlist. So I wouldn't want you to start here if you're unfamiliar with actual functions. All right, but hey, you could of course just stay out the shot. You could, of course, sorry you had to hear that. You could, of course, just stay here and watch the different types of functions that we're going to create today, and or you can actually just go back and rewind. Okay? All right, without further ado, let's go on ahead and get started. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so we have different types of functions today, and I believe in the last video we actually created an actual function as well. But today we're going to do a little bit more with that, in which we're going to actually have a type of, a function declaration, a function expression, and some anonymous functions as well. Okay, so let's go on ahead. We have Visual Studio Code, which is opened up right behind us. And let me maximize that. And what we're going to do is create a new file. And we all know with Visual Studio Code, if you want to actually create a new file, once you're in the directory that you want, you can click on this icon here for new file. And since we're working with types of functions, we're just going to name it that. We'll start with an HTML file, types of functions.html for our HTML portion. And for that, that's really going to be a bare bones just for today, because we're just covering 3 functions here. So let's get a bare bone skeleton. And again, if you're new to this portion, this is the JavaScript part, but you definitely want to go back to the HTML or CSS portion of this channel and take a look at that. All right, so we have our bare bones. We're going to add in a JavaScript file that we have not created as of yet, but you know what? Let's create it first. And we're going to name that the same thing, types of functions.js for our JavaScript file. And let's link that with the actual HTML page. And we've all linked plenty of files already. So let's do script, and that's not how you spell it. Let's add the source for where the actual JavaScript file is at. And it is, what did we name it? Types of functions.js. And we'll defer that. And that will just allow for our markup to actually load before the actual script itself. And let's right click on this. We did add the Visual Studio Code extension of Live Server. So we'll open up Live Server. And we're just going to squish that over to the left and have this over to the right. Close that down a little bit just for more screen real estate. Okay, and let's close this as well by hitting the Explorer icon. All right, let's give this bad boy a title. It's basically just types of functions. All right, and let's open up the console as well just to see if everything's looking good here. Let's actually put one DOM element just for any output. We most likely will put the output in the console down below, but we may actually put something within the actual web page as well. So let's start with an H1 with an ID of output. Okay, and now what we're going to do, we'll just say possible output. All right, so we got a little output right here. That's good. Let's close this. And actually, yeah, we can close that. And now we're just going to work with the actual JS, in which the last video, we actually made a function declaration and we created it like this. So we'll just put a little comment, function declaration. All right, and so you guys remember this from the last video. We did function as the keyword and the name of the actual function, which is this right here, area. And this particular function is basically going to get the area of a box, so the width times the height. So I said function, which is the keyword, the name of the function, area, and any parameters that would actually be needed with the actual function definition. So in this case, we're going to use width and height, all within the function block. Then from there, what does the actual function do? What is the purpose of the actual function? The purpose of this is to return the width times the height. So return the width multiplied by the height. And then from there, now that we have our function definition called area, we can now call this. So let's actually have that returned value, meaning the width times the height returned to the actual, we'll return it to a variable. So let the result equal, and now what we're going to do here is call the actual function up above. And the function above takes in two parameters, width and height. So we need to include that as arguments. In the function definition, the width and height parameters here are just parameters. When we're calling the actual function, meaning we're calling for its usage, now we need to add the actual numbers or the actual arguments that's going to be applied. And you'll hear parameters and arguments being used interchangeably. That's quite all right. So here let's try 2, so a width of 2 and a height of 3. And 2 times 3 is 6, so we should actually get that return value. So let's go down here and let's log it to the console. What are we going to log? We're going to log the result. And that result should come up right here. And there you see the actual number 6. So what happened here? We called the actual function area right here. And we actually used the arguments 2 and 3, which go into the parameters width and height. 2 for the width, 3 for the height. That data then went into the actual function and multiplied the width times the height, and we returned it. Where did we return it? We returned it right here. And that value then goes to the actual variable that we created, result. And that's why we just logged that out here. If we wanted to log it out here in the actual portion of the actual web page itself, we can do something like let L output equal, and first, what is L output? L output, oh, that's just a variable that we just created, but we want to target the actual ID of this element here. So in order to do that, we need to actually get access to the actual document object, and that's courtesy of the actual web browser itself. So document dot get the element by ID. What is the ID name? The ID name is output. So now we have captured the essence of all of the DOM element, And now what we can do is change the text content of that by using the text content property. And we'll set that equal to the result, because this function is returning the value to the variable result. And now we have up here 6, and we have 6 down here as well because of this here. Okay, so that works out. So that's a function declaration. The other thing about function declarations is this function can actually be placed anywhere within the actual page without any actual hiccups. So even though I'm calling it right here, the definition is here. Okay, so that is fine. And then, of course, with the actual function declarations, the interpreter itself, it checks for the function declarations before checking each line of code in your script. So that's why we can actually place that anywhere. But let's place that back. Okay, and let's move on to, I think we'll comment this out. Actually, we can leave that there. Yeah, no, actually, we'll comment that out. And let's actually move on to another way you might see an actual function. We'll use the same one, but in this case, this is going to be a function expression. Okay, and that function expression is going to be, we're going to actually create a variable called area2. So let area2 equal a function that takes in width, excuse me there, and height. And very similar to above, what is this function going to do? It's a new function called area2. It's actually a function, anonymous function here, applied to an actual area. So, or the name area2. So what we can do here is still just have it return the width, all right, plus, or actually times the height. Or you know what, if we wanted to make it slightly different, just let's do add 2 numbers. Add 2 numbers. Or you know what, let's add 3 numbers. Add 3 numbers. Okay, and these are just going to be random numbers here. So we'll just put, we'll say rand 1, rand 2, and rand 3. Okay. So the definition saying this function is going to take in 3 random numbers. I just put rand 1, 2, and 3. You can name these anything you would like. What is it going to do? It's going to return rand 1 plus rand 2 plus rand 3. And then what we're going to do here is let's log that out. So we'll log it out to the console below to the left. Console.log, what are we logging? The new function that we had in this function expression called add 3 numbers that takes in 3 arguments because there's 3 parameters that are actually set here. So that's required. So let's add, let's see, 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 6. So that should give us 10. All right. Now let's go to the console to the left, and what do we see? We do see 10. If I wanted to copy this L output and put the result there, let's see here. I didn't assign that to an actual result. I could actually comment this out and say let result or answer, you can name it anything you want, equal, and we'll say add 3 numbers. What was it? 2, 2, and 6. All right, and then from there, just simply log that out. So console.log the actual answer. And what do we got here? Answer, console log answer, which is there. Oh, it's right here. Okay, let me change the number because I didn't see it change. I'm over here looking over here. So let's change this to 5, and we'll change this to 5 and change this to 5. And what do we get over here? I get 5, 5, and 5, which should be 15. I see 16 here. Let's refresh. Console log answer. Add three numbers. That plus that plus that. Why am I getting 16 here? That's weird. 5, 5, and 5. What happens if I change this to 1? Oh, well, there we go. That's weird. So this is adding 1 plus 5 plus 5. Why is it doing that? Because 1 is going here, 5 is going here, 5 is going here. 1 plus 5 is 11, and that's what we see over here. Okay, so there's so many different ways. Now, the other thing about this is this is a function expression, meaning so this here is being called right here. The function expression is actually read before this. So if we were to move this right below it, now we get cannot access add three numbers before initialization. And the reason for that is it's not initialized, not at all, because it's called here, but the definition's down here, which it doesn't exist as of yet. So with function expressions, you'll have to have that above the actual call. So let's put that there. All right. And the third way to do an actual functions, I mean, there's many different ways to do functions, but we're just going to do the 3 for this particular video here. And then later on in the series, we'll actually cover arrow functions separately. So let's go on ahead and let's do an anonymous function, which you'll actually use a lot of. So here's an anonymous function where we have let area 3 equal. And what is it going to equal? It's just going to equal the word function. And then we're going to just close that off, open up the rule or the actual block, let the width equal 4, let the height equal 2, and then have the actual whatever math we're going to do here. Return the width times the actual height. Now remember, with these functions, it's up to you as to what your function is going to actually be doing. In this particular case, we only have 2 functions that are really doing what? Getting the height, or calculating the area of an actual box, which is just the length times the height. And in this case, we have a function called add 3 numbers, which is just adding 3 numbers. You may have a function that says validate an input field or an input box. So functions could do many different things. It's up to you to figure out what you want your function to actually do. How are you going to define it? Okay, so here we have our width and our actual height created within the actual function, and the return of the width times the actual height. And then from there, what we can do is, and actually for this here, we do need to, the anonymous function's weird. It's going to be weirdly closed as well. So it needs to be closed like this here. And let's go on ahead and call it with just the area 3. And what we should get here, don't need that. So 4 times the actual 2, which is width times the height, and we should get 8, and that's what we get here. Okay, and if we wanted to actually just bring that out, if there was a portion of a website or an application where we needed to place that, then we can just use this up here. We already have that captured, so we can do loutput.text content equals does not equal result. It's going to equal area 3. Okay, and that way we get our 8 right up in the actual browser if we needed to showcase that. Okay, so that's 3 different types of ways where you would actually have 3 different functions: function declaration, function expression, and an anonymous function. The purpose of the anonymous function is it automatically runs. Okay, even if you don't call it, it's automatically going to run. And actually what we can do here is, let's just test that without even calling it. Let's actually test that without even calling it, since it should automatically run. So let's just put an alert here just to see if that would actually run, and it already did. So as soon as I typed the alert in there and closed the parentheses, then it actually started working without it being called anywhere. And actually, just to make sure, let's see here. There we go. So even with that commented out, it still goes on ahead, and it anonymously just runs. So there you have it. You're going to see many different ways. You're going to see anonymous functions linked in with other functions that we work with and methods. We're going to be using a lot of anonymous functions with higher order arrays when we get to there, or with high order array methods. And of course, it's just good to actually get familiar with seeing different types of ways functions are created with the function expressions and anonymous functions and the function declarations. Okay, that is pretty much it. And again, leave some comments down below. Subscribe to the actual channel so you can actually get the updated information as to new videos, and hit that like button if you do like it. Okay, if you do like it. All right, that is pretty much it for today. Subscribe. Full stack out.